Hello, and welcome to Epiphanies by Ilango. We've got a very special guest, and I know I say this to every guest, but trust me, the guest that we have is very special. We're continuing in our series about security. If you remember, we did 3 episodes with Scott Harsani on security in our personal lives, in our phones, in our homes, and now our guest, Bob Moore. Welcome, Bob.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Bob and I are going to talk today about security at the workplace, corporate security. And a lot is happening, but let me take a few moments to introduce our guest. Bob Moore is a West Point graduate, has a degree in physics, has been in active deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq, and has done his master's in Michigan. How did you do all that in the 25 years you have young that you look, Bob?
Oh, thanks for that. I'll pay you for that later for that compliment. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've got a pretty good background in the IT industry. I've actually only worked with a couple of companies in my entire life. One was the U.S. Army, and the other one was Compaq, and then HP and HPE. So I've been in the IT industry, and then of course deployments with I was active Army and then reservist for quite a few years, and did do those overseas deployments in the combat zones. So it was a good experience, and yeah, I think it's culminated in this heightened cybersecurity awareness mode that we seem to be in these days, and we can get into that a little bit more. But thanks for the intro.
Thank you, Bob. We'll jump straight into the conversation. We every year we keep hearing different terms, right? You have this WannaCry, then you had Petya, and then we had the SolarWinds incident. It seems never ending that you get into you have a pandemics happen once in 90 years, but security risks happen every time. And now looks like with the pandemic and work from home and work from everywhere, there's the vulnerability is increased even further. As a security expert, you're called by companies to advise them and talk to them. So you almost get a eagle's eye view of all the nonsense that happens in the world. Can you talk to us? Can you share with our listeners some of the trends and what you're seeing?
Sure, you're right. That the trends are increasing. In fact, I would say that the cybersecurity threats are even escalating. We've migrated from a world years ago, maybe a decade ago, where the hackers were individuals trying to make a name for themselves or working from their dorm rooms, potentially at a college or university. And now, of course, we have organized cyber criminals, just like we used to have organized crime back in the bootlegging time. Now they're organized to hack into systems and implant ransomware because it's so lucrative. And we also have a lot of nation states that are involved in the cybersecurity vulnerability arena. So it's escalating all the time. As I've watched over the last several years, many years, I think that we see one of these new vulnerabilities come up maybe once a quarter, it feels like. NotPetya, Meltdown Spectra, SolarWinds. There's always something happening in the environment where there's a new breach and a new concern. I think that what it really takes is, in addition to, as an individual, being responsible for your own cybersecurity protection, protecting your ID and passwords and things like that, it also requires corporations to increase their focus and attention on cybersecurity protective practices. The cybersecurity threats are so significant and severe, and oftentimes individuals don't really realize this, but it is so lucrative with this ransomware and cybersecurity hack. The entire security industry for conducting breaches like ransomware is actually more profitable and lucrative than the entire illegal global drug trade around the world. So it puts it in perspective of just how significant it is. It's incredibly lucrative for those criminals, and therefore they're migrating from what they used to do now to hacking into systems and demanding ransomware and a payment for that ransom And the problem, of course, is it's a real dilemma if those companies pay it or not. We've seen companies and public entities that have paid the ransomware and some that don't. It almost feels to me like, without going too far out on a limb, that it's not a question of if, but when you're going to have some type of breach into your system. But you don't have to suffer the consequences of that penetration of that breach if you can detect it quickly and recover it. So it comes down to being able to not only try to protect with the firewall, but also detect once that breach is conducted and then recover to a safe state again. So we have to think of this more fully, more comprehensively in this new cybersecurity environment that we're in.
Fantastic, Bob. What you painted almost sounds like one of those Robert Ludlum movies with Wall Street thrown in, right? You've got money, you've got governments, you've got many players, and you've got the open market at play. It's almost like Wall Street at play in the security space. And the other thing that you said is it's not a question of if, it's a question of when for any one of us. Thank you, Bob. Much appreciate your time and your wisdom that you've shared. I'm sure I walk away feeling a little more erudite than I was when I walked in. I hope our listeners, watchers do that too. And I'll encourage our listeners to reach out to you if they want to just talk to you about security at their workplace. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in as always. Appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the session with Bob, and you will create a much better workplace for all of us. Thank you, and bye-bye.